When we talk about supporting the cardiovascular system with supplements, there's no better choice than essential oils. So let's talk about the essential oils that we've chosen for the supporting the cardiovascular system this month. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And as you probably have figured out, as if you watched me at all, I really love essential oils as part of the health tools that I use for wellness and health. And these essential oils that are in Vitality form from Young Living are absolutely fabulous. They're approved for internal use. Just to be clear, the Vitality label gives us the ability from a compliance standpoint to talk about taking essential oils as supplements. If they're labeled as a cosmetic, then you can't talk about taking them internally, and you can't talk about how they affect the body, because the FDA has this kind of, if it's used topically, the FDA says, then it can't affect an organ system, which of course is absurd, but that's the rule. So in order to talk legitimately about both safety and effectiveness of essential oils inside the body, we have these that are labeled as supplements. Now, to be clear, the oil bottle with basil that's labeled for topical use, for Young Living basil that's for topical use, is no different. It's exactly the same essential oil, Copaiba, same essential oil, same quality, same high quality essential oil. It's not like Young Living puts a cosmetic quality oil in one bottle and then internal use for another. No, it's all the same good quality oil. Okay, so let's talk about these two as supplements. First of all, why essential oils for the cardiovascular system? Well, if you've ever taken a drop of peppermint in water and take that internally, you can feel that peppermint penetrate very quickly. You'd be able to feel that for the basil. Probably not for the Copaiba. It's not one of those sharp oils, but you can feel it move right into the tissue in the mouth, move right into the tissue in the throat. So it's already absorbing in the mouth, in the throat. It's already moving into the blood system, into the cardiovascular system right away. So it's the first system that it contacts. And what better, a choice to use than essential oils that move straight into the bloodstream and have contact with the vessels and then with the blood itself, and so then can move through. And so that's one of the reasons I really, really like essential oils as supplements. So this month we're taking Copaiba and basil oil. I'll get the angle here. Copaiba and basil essential oils together. And let's talk about these two. Now, you can't reduce an essential oil into one component. You cannot. There's even if it's 70% of one compound, there's still other compounds in there. But if you were to the major constituent in basil oil is methylcavicol, also known as estradiol. And then the major component of Copaiba is beta-caryophyllene. Now, so these are both 70% beta-caryophyllene, 70% methylcavicol. And so if you look at those individual components, what I'm saying is you can't reduce these down, but we could be talking about those two components as if you wanted to look up the literature and see all the amazing properties that these two essential oils have, you're going to find that they're going to refer to methylcavicol in terms of basil and beta-caryophyllene in terms of the Copaiba. So there's where you're going to have to look at the literature a little differently. They just don't have a lot. I mean, most of the time they try to reduce everything and come down to one compound. So those are the compounds that you would look for if you wanted to learn more about how these essential oils are working in the body. I can tell you a little bit. Can't tell you all the research that's done. First of all, there's just too much. Second of all, there's a lot of it's non-compliant. And not approved by the FDA for discussion. So anyway, the Copaiba essential oil has been used pretty extensively in South America for a lot, both internal and external. It has an extremely safe safety profile. Absolutely, there's no toxicity identified. You can't, just can't seem to find any toxicity. So you can take a lot of this essential oil, very, very safe. And it's used for a lot of different things. But beta-caryophyllene has been well established to help maintain healthy inflammation levels. And so the inflammation process is critical to our health. We have to have inflammation. So you don't want to just throw a bunch of anti-inflammatories into the system. The reason you don't want to have anti-inflammatories is because they will go in and literally short circuit the actual inflammation cascades. when we talk about maintaining healthy inflammation levels, essential oil molecules don't do that. They're not interrupting the natural process or the natural cascade of inflammation. So they do not operate on the same pathways as drugs and medications do from a standpoint of an anti-inflammatory. This is why I don't call these anti-inflammatory, even though when you look in the literature, you can find reference to those terms, but they're really not. What they do is help maintain the integrity of the tissue, and that's where you end up getting protection. And that's where what I call chemoprotection. And a lot of research you can find for essential oils in general as chemoprotectants. They protect the tissue from damage. If you give a rat a whole bunch of chemical damage and you give them essential oils, oftentimes they'll see that they call chemoprotectant. In other words, normally the rat would be injured by this chemical, but in the presence of the essential oil, they're not. And so this is where we have these, you can look at them as antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, but those are not really the terms they're not even accurate terms for the most part. What they really are, they're very protecting. And so that's what they do in the plant. That's what they do in us. Okay, so the basil oil has similar. If you look up methylcavicol, now the safety profile in basil oil a little more harsh. Okay, so basil is something to be used with reasonable caution from a standpoint of nothing in the doses that we're talking about that would be unsafe at any level. You're still talking about toxicity levels that are way high. In terms of you take a lot of it to be toxic. But basil, if you take a drop on your tongue, you'll feel how much sharper it is. You're like, whoa, this is potent, as opposed to the Copaiba. You take that and you'll be like, doesn't feel like anything, doesn't even smell like anything. So it's one of those things that you'll kind of naturally get a feel for something that is sharper, harsher. You'll know that right away when you put it in your mouth. And like I said, mixing these two essential oils for the cardiovascular system, I think is fabulous. Okay, so this one does have some warnings. So just to let you know, if you're taking basil as a supplement, some of the warnings come with that it has some platelet aggregation effects, which is to say, if you're on a blood thinner, you would probably not want to take this, or watch very carefully your pro times and things like that if you're taking basil oil internally. And so one of the things that you would watch out for, of course, as we're talking about this cardiovascular system, we want to make sure we have good blood flow, right? We want to make sure things are moving, good blood flow. And so this is one of those things that it's going to be beneficial for most people to maintain healthy blood flow, make sure that things are moving through, that you're not, you're not aggregating your platelets in an inappropriate way. You have appropriate flow of platelets and blood, and so we're not getting those negative effects. If you have, we're going to talk a lot more about the cardiovascular system and getting dehydrated. If you get dehydrated, if you have a lot of oxidative stress, there's a bunch of factors that will thicken up the blood, and so you definitely want to keep your blood flow moving, and that'll happen, of course, through exercise, but diet and the things that you put in and on your body can affect the quality of your blood and the quality of your circulation. So definitely important for that. So the combination of these two essential oils, Copaiba and basil, fabulous, and they come from two different cultures. The basil from the European culture, well known in ancient Greece, all the rest of it, known as the king, and great for cardiovascular health in general. And then the Copaiba from South America, two cultures coming together in this one mix. What we're doing here for taking it internally is putting it half of a capsule of each, I just mix them together. And depending on what your tolerance is and how much, how intense you want, you can back off on the basil. If you just want to use 2 or 3 drops of the basil and then fill the rest of the capsule up with Copaiba, that's fine. You're going to tone down that basil effect. I really like the zing of the basil. It feels good. I can feel the movement and the rush of the basil moving through the body, and so I really like that. And so I'm just mixing half and half, 10 drops of each, and that's a 20-drop capsule. You can take less. You don't have to take that much. I'm just taking that as a just see how that works in my body. The short-term use, we're going to take this for the month, not a problem. like I said, most of the documentation here actually shows that these things are chemoprotectant. They actually protect the body from chemical damage. They're not chemicals that are going to damage the body. They're actually going to be protecting the body. So that's an exciting aspect of essential oils in general. Okay, so this is our protocol for the month in terms of this. I'm going to take 1 capsule a day. And like I said, if you wanted to try less intense, more often, if you want to say 5 drops of each twice a day, that would be fine because you don't get so much of a rush. I have a tendency to want to minimize the amount of time I take my supplements, and so I'm going to take it just 1 capsule a day, 10 drops each in a capsule, fill that thing up, and take that. If you want to take it with food, that prevents burping, and then that's fine too. If you don't like a capsule at all and you want to put it in water, that's great, no problem. You'll be able to feel the zing of the basil oil going in, and the Copaiba might actually tone down the intense taste because it's a very, very mild tasting oil. Okay, so beta-caryophyllene from Copaiba and methylcavicol from basil. Those are the 2 main constituents. There are a lot of minor constituents. You cannot just reduce an essential oil to 1 compound. But if you're looking at research for those 2 things, you'll probably find some toxicity, some scary stuff about methylcavicol. Don't panic. Again, toxicologists love to talk about the most intense parts of it, but if you really read the details and the dosages that you need to be looking at, they're nothing like what we're talking about in terms of an actual toxicity. Okay, so happy wellness. We'll be supporting the cardiovascular system all month. And this is one start to that process, and get to experience this internally and feel what that's doing to your cardiovascular system. And then you'll know if this is a good product for you, or if not a good product, and we can move to something else. But part of the benefit of this program we're doing here is exploring a number of different supplements and see how they work in the body, so that we can have that experience and knowledge for ourselves, and then be able to share that as more experienced supplementers, right? That's kind of how I look at that. All right, happy wellness, 1 day at a time.